Okay, it is exactly 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, so we're going to get going here. If everybody but Brett and Alan and Sandy, or Al, I guess, would do the mute button, that would be great, and we'll get going here. So, Sandy, and do you go by Al or Alan?
Either way. Al's fine. Alan's okay, too.
Okay. And tonight you're online from where?
Brighton, Michigan.
Brighton, Michigan. And do you have any winter up there yet?
Oh, we have winter, that's for sure.
Although
I'm not complaining because December was an amazingly good month for Michigan, so if we get a little snow, that's okay.
All right, good. Let's start with how you and Sandy hooked up. How'd you get the business started?
Wow, that's a great
Sandy.
question.
Yeah.
Well, there's a long story, and if we had that much time, we could go into details. But suffice it to say that there was a family connection where my grandparents knew Alan's parents. And long story short, we end up working together in Al's first business, and that would have probably been 6 or 7 years ago, where I came to work actually for Al at a swimming pool company that he owned. And through the process of some of that, we decided to look at different things that we could do to help support the business community. So the Insights Group idea was started there, and we decided to partner up in that and go into this joint venture. So.
Okay. And, of course, your number one fan is Brett Blair. You're aware of that, right?
We are, and we are fans of Brett's as well, so I think the feeling is mutual.
Yeah, great. Now, as I understand it, each one of you had your own expertise or what you contribute to the business. Let's start with Sandy. What do you bring to the table?
Well, I have a pretty varied background in terms of areas of study and things that are interesting. I do enjoy studying the psychology and marketing that goes into having some different ideas and ways to connect people in the business world. So that's where my background is from, although I've done many more things than that. I've run a real estate office in the past and some different things like that. But it seems like now what we're doing with the Insights Group and social media, all of my areas of expertise come in handy. I'm also pretty good at figuring out things on the web. So whether it's programming or, learning how different pieces fit together, that's something that has been a good fit for me.
Are you a native Michigan person?
I am native from Michigan. I did pick up a southern accent for a little bit when I lived in Georgia for a while. So it sounds like many of your clients, or at least the ones I heard from at the beginning of this call, have southern accents. So I feel a little bit of a northerner here, but it's all good.
Yeah, they're from all over. And Al, what about you? What do you bring to the table?
My background, number one, I have to say that Sandy really sells herself short. She's not just pretty good with all things Internet. She's amazing with all things Internet. So let's clarify that.
Okay.
For me, I bring more of a philosophical background. My studies, I started college in art, and I ended up with a degree in physics and math. So I went from as far right-brained to about as far left-brained in terms of intellect and study. And kind of that mix has taken me down a road of self-discovery and self-help and personal improvement and philosophy. And so when we started the Insights Group, Sandy has the psychology and the technical know-how, and I bring more of the entrepreneurial. I've always owned my own business. I've owned several businesses, so I kind of bring that with a philosophical background. And when we mix the two of them together, it creates a pretty powerful team.
That's what Brett's saying. I'm not a techie by any stretch of the imagination, but I love, staying on the cutting edge and learning what's going on. It looks to me like in the whole, it's like Twitter. I'm following a whole bunch of people, and I've got, I think in 4 levels, 6 million people in Facebook about it. That I don't know what to do with it. And what I'm learning from Brett is that you two have really put the tire hits the road, or whatever you want to call it, to really specifically make some things happen. So much of the thing you read in books, et cetera, is theory, but you're bringing it to a very, very practical level. Let's start with, right out of the chute, when Brett first started talking to me, he talked about the book Crush It. Will one of you share with our listeners, particularly ones that's not familiar with it, why Crush It and what you got out of it and why you're high on it and why you want to meet Chuck? or Gary?
Al, why don't I let you take that one?
I guess I'll take that one. When we first, when Gary hit our radar, it was through a really cool set of social media experiences that his name came to us. And what I did when I studied him was he's created an online video blog. And his goal, he's in the wine industry, his goal was to educate people about wine tasting, a younger crowd. And being that wine has got a deep-seated history, he wanted to bring it kind of to today's technology, and he used social media to do it. And he created this following of hundreds of thousands of people that every single day go to his site or get a feed to their email with his video blog. And he's virtually turned the world of wine and wine tasting sort of into this whole new realm. And so catching on with that, I followed him early on, and next thing you know, he's got this book which really talks about the passion of why he does it. And he believes, and his philosophy is, that if you don't love something 100%, don't do it. Find the passion in it. And his whole message is find the passion and follow it. And once you follow it, you'll figure out how to monetize it. So I got pretty inspired by him, and we're just honored to be able to meet him this week.
Great. Any other books that you two would say, especially those who are more or less a novice at this, any other books you'd recommend?
I would also recommend anything that Seth Godin has written. He has a few that are at the top of the list, such as Tribes and All Marketers Tell Stories. Those are two really incredible books. Seth is another person who's on the forefront of understanding social media, and even more than that, marketing in today's day and age and all the changes that are happening. So he definitely tops my list as far as somebody to recommend. And we actually got an advance copy of his book, Lynchpin, which is the next one coming out. It won't be available until the end of January, and we're heading out to New York this week so that we can be a part of his introduction to the book and then a question-answer session and VIP meeting with him in New York this week, too. So he's a pretty good guy to watch.
What's the name of the book?
Seth Godin. His newest book is called Lynchpin.
Lynchpin?
Yep. And then his other titles are Tribes and All Marketers Tell Stories that are must-reads for anybody marketing themselves right now.
Mm-hmm. Right, in the marketing arena, he's probably number one, isn't he, Seth?
He's right up there, absolutely.
The guru. You know, Jay Abraham used to be years ago, but I think Seth is up there now.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that Seth is bringing a whole, in his book Tribes, he talks about the difference of the world of the past versus today, and how important it is for companies and individuals to create tribes of people. And that's his whole message, is how can we create a tribe of people that care about the same thing? And that's where marketing really is going, is how can we harness people to talk about us in a positive way? And via social media, that's a very easy thing to do. So his material is just golden, right, especially for this day and age.
And I get his email every morning, and it's very targeted, very brief, right to the point. And just I think it was this week, he made a point that the libraries are going to become obsolete, and that most libraries now are renting or loaning out more DVDs than they do books.
Wasn't that an amazing post?
Yeah.
When he said that books just are going to be all digital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you all familiar with you keeping up with the Apple iSlate? What that's going to do or be?
We are. We have been paying attention to that, as well as Google. If there's another book that should hit people's radar right now, it is the book Googled by Ken Auletta, Auletta. That is an amazing story about how digital media, and especially from the Google camp, things are changing, and then it very much also ties into all of the things that are happening with the Apple and the iPlatform.
Let's do a half-cap quad latte.
Yeah. If those of you that are listening in tonight, if you will mute your, we're getting some background noise, so please put your phone on mute. So Google by Ken, Auletta.
Auletta, Auletta. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it, but the book is Googled.
Googled. It's become a verb, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Google has.
It's a force.
Yeah, right.
It's virtually Google, as the way that they have documented the Internet has virtually changed the whole educational world, in that now anything that can be learned in a university can be gotten for free online.
Mm-hmm.
Just through the process of Google categorizing trillions of pages, they've categorized all that information and made it all available, which a few years ago we had to spend years looking for, and now it's available at a push of a button.
Now, I assume that Sandy and Al will be writing a book at some point, or maybe you already have.
We have a few in the works.
We do. We have a lot of ideas. We've found as well that when we put material together, Al has what we refer to at Insights as the law of effortless allowance. Those things that come easily to you that it seems like are hardly any effort at all because you have all the pieces that you need to put them together. When something comes together like that, you need to run with it. And we've talked about writing our books and have decided that we can go into the studio and record CDs, and that's pretty effortless for us. We walk in there unscripted, and we've put together hours and hours of CDs that we hear from the listeners they enjoy listening to. So the CDs have come out first for us, but we do have several book ideas, and I think we hit on one today, an idea that's probably going to be the first book that we have that comes out, because I think we'll be able to pull it together working in Al's law of effortless allowance.
And you're called the law of?
Effortless allowance.
Oh, that's neat, yeah.
It's the whole concept behind it is we prepare every day for what we do, and then come game day, instead of being anxious and try to orchestrate it, you simply allow it. Because you've practiced, you're ready to do whatever the task is. And yet human nature is always trying to orchestrate and do a certain thing a certain way. Well, once you've practiced, you just learn to practice this law of effortless allowance, and you allow it to come out. And when that happens, it's organic and natural and tends to succeed much better.
Why don't you do a Seth post for me, and I'll put it in my newsletter. I like
could
the
absolutely
concept.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could absolutely do that for you.
If you want to put your contact information in there. I'm told I have about 12,000 readers, and most of them are small to medium-sized business entrepreneurs. The majority of my readers are, so it's a good audience to
That's awesome. Mm-hmm.
to reach. You will keep me in the loop on the book, I presume?
We absolutely will.
So we can spread the word. Now, you mentioned CDs. Are they available?
We do have CDs available. You can find them on Amazon.com if you do a search for either the keyword Sandy Mackey or the keyword Alan Curtis.
Okay.
We have a series of 3 CDs available in our Explained series. So we have Social Media Explained, Blogging Explained, and a program that we've come up with out of the Insights group called Organic Marketing Explained. We were just back in the studio and we recorded the strategies set, so each of the first CDs will now have a follow-up, and those should be available, I would anticipate, around February 1st.
Okay. And the cost?
The cost of the CDs on Amazon is $12 a piece.
Okay. So there's 3 now and a 4th one coming. Did I hear that right?
There's 3 now, and then we'll have an additional 3 coming out, so we'll have a total of 6 by mid-February.
By this February 2010, next month.
Correct, next month, yes.
Fantastic. You have your own studio?
We have a studio inside of our facility, and we do outsource that because we don't. We feel fortunate to have surrounded ourselves with people who have talents that help us put our talents together. So we do have somebody who comes in and does the recording, all of the editing, and helps make us sound really good. So we've got a team of people working on that.
If Brett ever wants to come in and sing, don't let him.
I take it you've heard his singing.
Tell him you're busy. Well, when the next 3 come out, be sure and alert me, and I'll put the word out to everyone.
We certainly will.
Okay. Earlier this week, or yesterday maybe it was, or Friday, whenever it was, time flies, I had a call with Brett, and he took me through his blog. And, we've all seen tons of things in the media world. I was really, really impressed. And I don't think he's finished, but outstanding. Talk to me a little bit about the process and how you've been working with Brett, because that's a hands-on thing. That's something we could identify with, what Brett is wanting to do in the marketing world. So share a little bit of you working with him and some of the things you've done, and why was I impressed with his blog? Who wants to start?
Go ahead, Sandy. I'll let you start. I'll fill in.
Okay. Well, Well, I thought I'd let you take a stab at that one. But Brett is a very enthusiastic blogger. And when we talk to people about coming into doing some social media marketing, we really feel strongly that the blog is a good foundation for a strategy. And I might mention here how we at the Insights Group are a little bit different than maybe other people in the social media world that are doing some teaching. Anybody can teach people how to press buttons and how to, use the different social media sites. We focus a lot on the strategy. We talk a lot before people actually get started blogging with how to put a message together, how they should be interacting, and then how to integrate all the platforms together. So Brett is fairly new at blogging, but he's done his homework. We've strategized with him. We've come up with the best way for him to package his information. And then he has been doing the work and putting up those blog posts. And I know he started officially at the first of the year, so he's not very far into it yet, but he is off to a great start. And I would imagine he's already seeing benefits from putting the blog together. I know his blog is already getting a lot of comments, which is something when new bloggers start out, we tell them, don't worry, it's like practice, because when you first start publishing, nobody's listening anyway until you start to develop your audience. But Brett's been so on top of things that he's already got people listening and watching that. Al, you want to fill in with some of the strategy and philosophy with Brett's blog?
Well, one of the things that I think also about Brett is, number one, he's a good listener. He's a good listener, and he's listening to our ideas, and then he's manifesting them into something that he wants to see, and then he's feeding that back to us. And so his listening skills are great. That certainly helps. But then he has a passion for what he does. And don't we all know that strong business is built around passion? So just to make sure that he gets the credit there is that he has a lot of passion for what he does. But our idea in approaching this is understanding, and probably one of our strong suits here is understanding the different types of people that would read a blog. There's personality issues. There's people like to get information in different ways. And that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that bloggers make is they tend to write in the style that they like. And what they're missing is a whole group of people that don't necessarily gain information the same way. So we have a multi-level approach where we encourage people to do some audio stuff. We have some people do some video stuff. For those people that like to have fun and they don't necessarily want to read text, make sure the blog has some flair in it that attracts that type of attention, as well as a lot of writing for the people that love text. So using all of the different pieces appeal to all of the different temperaments of people. And again, that's part of Brett's position is that he's got some color in there, he's got some pictures, he's got some video, he's got audio, and he has written text. All those pieces are little subtle pieces that bring the blog together.
Brett, are you on?
He's hiding.
Brett Blair, where are you? Get off mute and join us. He promised he was going to be on tonight. Well, maybe something came up.
Yeah.
Might have, had a better offer. Okay,
I don't know, Tom. He speaks very highly of you. I don't know how much better of an offer there is out there, according to what he says. So he thinks very highly of you.
Now, he actually went through, a 2-day seminar to get started on this process with you folks?
Yeah, that's how he was introduced to our philosophy and way is we do a 2-day boot camp, and it's setting your media strategy. And we take people through that process of first identifying how and who they want to speak to and how you craft that message to attract the right types of people. And he came out of that on cloud 9 ready to go, and he wanted to just head out, and, it's a very cool thing.
Do you do those on a regular basis if somebody wanted to come up and attend?
We do them on a regular basis. Our next one is actually scheduled for next week, Thursday and Friday. It'll be the 21st and 22nd of January. And then the next one we have will be in March, the 18th and 19th. We do have information available on our website if anyone is interested. It's an incredible 2 days where we really go start to finish. Do we meet for 8 hours a day both days? Absolutely. And then it seems like at the end of class, people are so excited that they always ask to stay longer and ask more questions. Of course, we do that. So it's a great place to really think about a foundation if people are serious about putting social media into place. And even for people who've started already, we get a lot of people that come through the boot camp, and it ties all the pieces together, and they walk out of there saying, now I understand why I have to do all these and what the sequence is to make everything work well together.
Is that in Brighton?
It is in Brighton.
Okay. And the fee?
The fee for the 2 days is $299.
Okay.
And it's very well worth it. We will be doing some off-site training. We actually are going to be traveling around the country a little bit in the second half of the year here, doing some off-site training. So if there's people who would like something a little closer to home, just inquire, and we'll let you know where we'll be.
Okay. And your website is?
It is insights-group.com. That is INSIGHTS-group.com.
Group.com. Okay. Hyphen dash.
Yep. Hyphen.
Okay. And it's insights, plural.
Correct.
Okay. And so, yeah, I think there'd be some people who would probably be interested in doing it. Anyway, fly into Detroit? Is that?
Flying into Detroit or into Flint is good. We have had some people come in from other parts of the country and, decided to say we actually have someone coming in for the next one who's going to spend a week with us because she wanted some additional training and support as she's going through her strategy. So we're more than happy to help with that. If there's people and organizations that have a team as well who would be involved in marketing and organization, we do recommend that anybody who's going to be involved in the decision-making process of putting the social media strategy together would attend, because they can both benefit, or, several people from a team can benefit from all learning the information, and then they can powwow together to craft the message and, do some brainstorming collectively with how that'll best fit with their company.
Mm-hmm. And Brett's probably talked to you about our VY Summit that we hold 3 times a year. Has he mentioned that to you?
Yeah, I talked to him briefly about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's something we need to talk about. We'll probably have, we're going to have between 100 and 150. 90% of them are, business people, entrepreneurs, ranging from, several $100,000 annual gross revenue up to, I think the highest one is around $800 million. And we like to provide some real value for these folks, and it's also a good marketing thing for you to be able to, get in front of these kind of people and share, what you have to offer. So don't let's forget to talk about that too. We have 3 a year. We're in New Orleans next month, and then we're going to be near Quebec, near Montreal in June, and then probably in Texas in October.
Super.
So we look at what you all are doing. I mean, my bias has been whatever you're going to do, there has to be a system, and it has to be practical and fairly simple. You don't have to be a technology expert or to do what you all are doing. Does that make sense to you?
It does make sense, and that's when we work with people, especially on strategy. We will teach anybody the tools if they'd like to learn them, but when somebody comes to us and they say, here's what I'd like to do, we usually tell them, let us worry about the details. We'll help you get to where you're going, but do what you're good at. People should really do what they're good at. Anybody can learn how to build a website, but if that's not the best use of your time, don't do it. So on the same token, people should educate themselves so they know what they're doing. But, bring in people that can help support those areas where you don't need to necessarily spend a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. So if somebody wants to get involved, one, read Crush It, read Google, come to a boot camp, and then go from there. Does that make sense? Well, and go to your website. Look at insights-group.com.
It does. And, Al, if you would want to mention maybe just talking about strategy, people wouldn't necessarily need to come to the boot camp to get started with us. And, Al, maybe you want to cover just calling and talking about strategy?
Sure. There's 2 pieces, 2 totally independent pieces of social media, and I don't think that everyone recognizes this right away. But the first is the obvious. Social media is a marketing tool which, once it's established, the amazing thing about it is once you take the time to build it, and it does take time to build, it's something that you can use repeated time after time versus very traditional media, which you pay for the service and then you have to repay to re-promote. This is something, once you build it, you invest the time into it, you can use it over and over. But so there's There's a social media that's about promoting and creating awareness, brand awareness, and top-of-mind awareness of your product. But then the other half of social media, from the business owner perspective, is this is a great tool when it comes to getting to understand employees. We have most businesses spend all their time when they're hiring or educating the people on the knowledge and skills that those people bring to the table. And 85 to 90% of their time is spent training in those areas. Well, social media allows us into the other half of their life, which is their attitudes and their habits. And more employees leave companies because of bad attitudes and poor habits. 85 to 90% of the loss is not because they don't like the employer, it's because they don't like something to do with attitudes and habits. Well, social media allows us a window into people's lives. And in the very near future, it's happening now, but in the near future, people will be hired and promoted and let go based on their social media strategy and their social media profile. So there's those two different pieces of social media that are both extremely powerful for business, but you have to recognize them and have a strategy in approaching both of them. And then avoid the pitfalls. There's a whole list of pitfalls that most media companies and most PR firms and advertising firms are struggling with now, is that they're taking a new media and using it the old way. And really, there's an education process. This is a new media that you speak in a certain way to be effective. You don't use it like old media was used. And so there's a bit of a disconnect there that we see a lot of companies are spending a lot of money and wondering what's not working. Well, the reality is they're taking a new idea and using an old process. And so we have to really recondition ourselves there.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we're about out of time, so here's what I'm going to do. One, if you, Sandy, you and Al would send me an email. I've got about 65 business people in my, what I call inner circle, coaching clients, et cetera. And if you could kind of do me like a 1, 2, 3, Tom, if there's somebody really interested, 1, get the CDs, 2, come to boot camp, 3, whatever it is. Pretty straightforward and like a 1, 2, 3, and then let's go from there. And then I'll make sure that everybody gets Brett's blog so they can appreciate that. He has a 90-day plan, I think, that he's working on, and he's really, really excited, and I'm really impressed. And then let's Al and Sandy, let's make sure we talk about VY, the summit. It's an opportunity, I think, that benefit everybody, so we need to put that on the agenda. So, too. Any last minute words of wisdom, Sandy or Al?
We'll each share something, I'm sure. You go first, Sandy.
Well, one of the things we tell people is lean into it. So if someone is brand new to social media, brand new to blogging, and thinks they'd like to start, we don't recommend starting everything all at one time. And we'd be happy to guide people in the right direction to get started. So lean into it so the process is not intimidating. And if somebody's already using social media, we can also lean into making some strategic changes that would be to their advantage. So we're happy to help in that area. So that would be my bit of advice.
It's an art and a science, isn't it?
It is.
It's a combination.
It is. And it's more art than science, and yet it looks like it's more science than art.
Mm-hmm.
And my word would simply be the old adage that Rome wasn't built in a day. Keep that in mind in this process. So many people come in and they see its potential, but then they throw up the red flag, I don't have any time for this.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is no one has time to do it all at once, but if you break it down and have a bit of a plan, it's very easy. It takes time, but it's easy. But once you build it, it's something that you can use over and over and over again. It's not a one-time use thing. This is something that creates a sphere of influence for you for a long time.
Great. Well, let's leave it like that. And you send me an email. Thank you all for taking the time to be on tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Keep all of our folks in the loop, and you keep me in the loop so we can spread the word. Because this is a valuable tool. It is really a valuable tool, and all of us in the small business world need to take advantage of it. So
Absolutely.
Thanks again. Stay warm, and we'll see you in cyberspace.
Super. Thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you, Tom.
Good night.
Bye-bye.